Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Mila, and today I'm going to make a video about Victoria Beckham. It's kind of like psychoanalyzing her. So when I watched the documentary, and I've additionally, apart from these documentaries, I watched some of the other interviews. When I saw that, I was confused. Some things didn't make sense, so I thought, okay, this is an interesting one. I have to analyze this one. And especially the thing about the inconsistency that I found was from this part that I'm going to show you. It was very, very interesting. It's at the end of the, let me show it to you.
What is stopping you from just saying, okay, I've achieved it?
Because I've spent so many years fighting and building that I feel now I really have an opportunity, and I don't want to let that slip.
But who are you trying to prove this to?
Maybe a lot of it to you. You know, of course I feel bad about all that time when I had to ask you to help me out.
You don't have to prove it to me, ever.
No, but I want to myself. I want to. You know, when I saw your face and the kids' faces backstage after the last show, it was not the first time, but it was a real moment for me where I could see how proud of me you were, you know?
You could make a cheese and ham toasted sandwich, we'd be proud of you, just to be clear.
Let's be honest, I couldn't actually make a cheese sandwich very well.
No, you couldn't. I think
And
you're
so
trying to
much
prove it
that
to yourself, not to me. I
Maybe.
think you're so stubborn in that you are trying to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, success. It feels good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm proud, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm ambitious, and I've still got a lot that I want to do.
So to begin my analysis, okay, in that video we see that she said that I need to prove it to you, and she starts getting very emotional, and then she starts crying. And then what's his name? The football player, I forgot his name. David. He kind of calls her out and he says, well, no, you're trying to prove it to yourself and not to me. So I feel like there's some type of inner conflict going on. First of all, I want to mention, by the way, I'm not trying to discredit anyone. I'm simply here analyzing. I think, what I think doesn't matter, to be honest, but if it mattered, I would say that I think she's a hard worker, and she's the type of person that you might want to aspire to be. And you see that she keeps going, and she's trying, like she's doing her best, and she has amazing designs. Her clothes are really, really beautiful. I think it's very beautiful. And she's built a family, and she kept a family with David, even when he cheated on her. That's another story. We'll go there. But to begin with, it all begins in the childhood. She comes from as you already probably know, she comes from a rich family. This is a Rolls Royce that she's sitting on. And in the documentary where the David Beckham documentary, he did call her out, saying that you did not have a normal childhood. You had a very well-off childhood. You had money. Your family had money. They were driving you on a Rolls Royce to the school. So I'm going to try and explain to you why she does not like mentioning it. So see, that's another conflict. She tried to run away and kind of conceal it, that she comes from like this rich family, because people will devalue that. Okay, she's been devalued many, many, many times on many, many occasions. There's been in the whole Netflix documentary about Victoria Beckham, it's there to kind of show her as a designer, to position her as a designer, as someone who wanted to be, who had that in her blood. She really wants her brand to succeed, and it makes sense. But at the same time, okay, I feel like there was this documentary, the Victoria Beckham's documentary, it's more about so we could relate, so we could feel pity for her, so we could relate to her. But deep inside, she feels that she's not very relatable because she came from money. Because when you come from money, things are supposedly easier for you, or, your path is all built out and it's there. And in a way, it's true. In a way, it's true, because maybe if she didn't have money, she would not become one of those Spice Girls or whatever the band is called. Or maybe from the Spice Girls, she wouldn't become popular and famous, and she would not then marry, like a popular football player and then have the money to build the brand, because from what I understood, it was his money that she was taking from him because she needed investment to build her brand. So her story is so unique, so interesting. There are so many inner conflicts going on, and I'm about to go a little bit deeper right now. Let's go. See, when she said, I'm proving it to you, I'm trying to prove it to you, it comes across as like a victim. And it also shows us that there's some kind of crack in their relationship because of the way he responded. And the way he responded was, no, you're not. You're proving it to yourself. And she instantly stops crying and she's like, yeah, maybe. So I was trying to figure out why these words, why would she use these words? Because these words and saying, I'm proving it to you, and being a victim it's slight guilt tripping. And he cut it off instantly, instantaneously. He's like, no, you're proving it to yourself. So I think there's still a lot of pain associated with him cheating to begin with, because let's not forget, he cheated, and apparently multiple times, even though he denied it the whole time. And imagine a woman who decided to keep the image, keep the brand going, keep the family going, even though she could have divorced him. She could have divorced him, and she could have had half of his money, for instance, right? And she would have been able to support the kids. For some reason, she chose him. And see, another thing to remember is that David Beckham, he's kind of just like, he's lovable. People love him. People like him. He's likable. He's not trying to prove anything to anyone. He just plays the ball, hits the ball. Probably doesn't do that anymore, but he's just, he is like, he exists, he's there and he's successful. Everyone knows him. He's a name. In the end of the day, she carries his name, his last name. While on her end, it's more of like a girl who's been, and in that documentary she shows that she's been bullied and she's been, called fat, and she's been called words, that she's a horrible design, and that she's a trad wife, and that, I feel like media has been so horrible to her. But here is the thing, in I don't know, psychoanalysis or in psychoanalytic psychotherapy, the way I would analyze it is, when you have whatever you have inside, it's something that you project into the world, and that's how the world sees you. Because she could have acted like this. She could have said, I'm David Beckham's wife. She could have owned it. She's like, yeah, I'm his wife. So what? Okay, so what? Shut up. She could have been like, I'm a mother. So what? Like, she had so many identities, and it feels like she's been trying to find that identity, because at first she was like a pop star. Okay, well, at first she was a bullied child, then she was a pop star. All of a sudden she gets the fame and she gets all of that, and then she's happy with it, and then all of a sudden everything drops and nothing exists anymore. But now she's got another identity. And I think that marriage with David Beckham saved her life, because she wanted to be a part of something bigger, something more, something successful, something, something popular, a brand, I think she wanted to be a part of it. That's why she stayed with him. Okay, maybe they love each other, all of that, of course, yeah. But even in the first documentary, David Beckham's documentary, he started crying when they were talking about, the cheating scandal and all that. And he never admitted anything. He doesn't admit it. He just kind of like, and, they get very emotional in there. And he's almost like crying. I don't remember if he was crying or not, but he got very emotional right there. So he carries a lot of guilt around that. Okay, he carries a lot of guilt. And I didn't finish my thought about Victoria Beckham projecting things into the world, right? So she could have owned it. She could have owned everything that happened to her, but she didn't. She didn't really own it. Maybe right now she's starting to own it more. And even then, the way she comes out on those Let me show you. Okay, so this might be a bad picture, but she normally on those fashion shows that she would come out, she would do like a sneak peek, like, and then she would go back. So obviously there's something in their relationship that is giving a crack, because for her to sit there and slightly guilt trip, oh, I've done it because of you, can't you see? It shows some kind of crack, and he instantly, like, he does not play the victim game. And I like that about him, actually. And I like that. But she does that. So she is feeling like a victim with him. She's guilt tripping him. Why? That I can't really come to a certain conclusion about it. But I feel like there must be something in their relationship that is not 100%. Even though I know the world sees this like a power couple, this and that. Yes, it's a brand. It's a brand. Their couple is a brand. Does that mean they have a very healthy relationship? No, it doesn't. Yes, they managed to keep it together. Yes. Does that mean she's not cheating on him, he's not cheating on her? We don't know. We'll never know. But I feel like that situation, the whole cheating thing and her staying with him, and then she decided to open a brand because she wanted to be something more than a wife, because she had that fame and all of a sudden she lost it, and then she just became a shadow of her husband.
Right, I'll let you decide when I have a cup of tea.
I'll tell you when you can have a cup of tea. I wear the trousers, don't forget.
Okay, sorry, princess.
And I think for her, maybe ego, it was painful to be a simple shadow because she was the star. But now you're the shadow. And she couldn't own that shadow. She couldn't be with that. She needed to be more. She needed to prove everyone. And so, see, when you don't have enough self-confidence, when you're doubting yourself all the time, then you will project into the world. That's how the media will take you. That's how the media will... Right? Like when we take some other celebrities, I kind of bring my mind to think what kind of celebrity, but there are some celebrities that own it. They don't care about criticism. You can talk shit. I don't care. This is who I am. But I don't sense that in her. She does not fully accept even the fact that she came from a rich family. She kind of wants to downplay it. No. Like, I came from a normal family. And then again, David straight away, calls her out. Good on him. But like we can only feel bad for her, and the whole documentary, I feel like it's done to strengthen her brand and in order for people to empathize with her. So there's definitely that sort of like theme for her, that she's trying to prove the whole world that she can be respected, loved and appreciated and all that. Let's take a quick look at the old interview, because the old interview, I feel like, and she wears that mask as well, like with a mask where does not smile, very, well put up together. But I think that's also for the brand, because if you're going to be there smiling, hi, that's more of a pop star feel. When you're more serious, then maybe she thinks, maybe if I don't smile, people will take me more serious. So her whole life, I think she wanted to be taken seriously, and she wanted to be respected, but what happened to her? They humiliated her. And I'm sorry, but cheating, it's humiliation too. You're being publicly humiliated, and she went through that pain. It's not just betrayal of your partner cheating on you, it's also public humiliation, because now the whole world knows that not only someone betrayed you, and that and see people with victim mentality, they think, oh, if someone cheated on me, that shows my self-worth. No, it doesn't. It talks about a man not being able to control himself. It doesn't talk about self-worth at all. So for her, it's like double humiliation, double betrayal, and now the whole world knows that you stayed with that person. I feel like that's even more humiliating, to stay with someone who cheated on you, who betrayed you. You're kind of betraying yourself by staying with that person. So whether it's high love, forgive and forget, move on, right? Whether there's that story, or it's the story of keep the family, keep the brand going, and build something for myself. It's like I think her crying, it was like about, I've rebuilt myself, I've now rebuilt myself. And she could not do that without him, right? Because he invested a lot of millions into the business. She couldn't have done that without him. But yet she's trying to rebuild herself. Now she's got an investor. David, I think, is no longer in the business, or maybe he is, but maybe less. And she's been able to, rebuild herself as a fashion, stylist, fashion designer, right? Which I think is admirable, to be honest. It's quite admirable. But there's definitely a lot of like lying to yourself going on. Lying to yourself, being a victim, falling into a victim, trying to prove people who, like, there's no point trying to prove anything to anyone, because you have to do it for you. And I think partially she does do it for her. But okay, let's look at the old interview, and yeah.
Right, you decide when I have a cup of tea.
I'll tell you when you can have a cup of tea. I wear the trousers, don't forget.
Okay, sorry, princess.
So I found that part to be very interesting, because she said, I decide, I wear the trousers. I'm in control. You do what I tell you. I'm the boss. How interesting is that? And right after that, I think her band broken off. Gotten broken off, just as what was really interesting about their life, and their lives are so interesting actually, especially David Beckham's, because I've watched the full documentary of David Beckham's, and I was, I felt a lot more. I almost like cried in the end when he finished his career. Like I felt the pain, like I felt like it was so touching, and the whole documentary just kept me. And I don't like football, but I watched the whole documentary like this, and I was like, what's happening next? What's happening next? Oh my God, what's gonna happen now? And I felt a lot for him, and he's very likable, and he's very chill, very nice, very calm. But this, well, she's not a girl, she's a 50-something-year-old woman, age of my mom. But there's something, right? I noticed something strange about her. That's why I wanted to do this whole analysis, because I was like, there's something going on, which is because, see, the reason why is that we don't see her true self. With David Beckham, it's very easy to see his true self. With her, with Victoria, you don't see the true self. She wore a mask, okay? She put on a mask. In a way, it's completely understandable, and I'm going to go into it a little bit. So what I think happened, okay, when David Beckham's career started going off, he moved to Spain. She stayed with the kids in London. David, it's honestly unforgivable what he's done. He cheated on her, and he tried to explain in the video that that he was alone and he was in a different country, and of course his translator was next to him, and so I guess he confided in her, and then there you go, there's this chemistry, and they had whatever they had. And what's interesting also is that they always, both of them, would choose themselves, and I kind of like it for them. I think that's I think when you are sacrificing in relationship, in a way sacrifices are to be made in relationships, but in a way, if you're doing too many sacrifices, it's like you're living your partner's life, and none of them were really sacrificing, except for that point of life when Victoria's career gone nowhere. It's, imagine you're on the top and you telling your husband, I'm the boss here, and now all of a sudden the roles flip. And I think there's a bit of competition going on, like a slight competition, and I'll show you why I think there's competition. Let me play this part here.
I think I get that sense that you feel content now. When we were younger, you're constantly chasing, and there's an element of you're passing the baton on a little, and you want that for your kids, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm not ready to pass the baton on yet.
You know what, guys? There's something I'm not buying there. There's something, it just feels like she's somewhat defensive. It feels like she might be projecting. And it's not a neutral question. It's a question that, it's a type of question that you should say yes. It's not like a open-ended question that you would answer. And those kind of questions, it's usually comes from like a question of moral authority. you're asking that question and you're already implying that you know the answer that he should say. Something is off. Also, she's saying like, oh, you know, you've been chasing, you were constantly chasing. But she is still chasing. If you look at her documentary, she is still chasing. And it's almost like slightly judgmental, like, oh, you were chasing. But it's like, lady, you are chasing till this day. So they're the same kind of people, right? I still feel like David is somewhat of a more real. He's more real. She's got a lot of defenses going on. Even the fact that she doesn't smile, it's a defense. It's a defense against shame. And it's understandable because she's gone through a lot of humiliation, and humiliation causes, you know, narcissistic trauma. I'm not saying she's narcissist. I'm not saying anything here. I'm not, you know, giving diagnosis. So she feels like she's convincing herself that all these sacrifices that they've gone through, and to be honest, you know, she's gone through the biggest sacrifice, which is keeping the family after him cheating on her. That's a massive sacrifice. That's self-betrayal and that's humiliation, right? And you just, but okay, I guess she's the bigger the better person, but I still think somehow that it's not just out of love, it's also for the family, for the image, for the brand, for the future. I feel like there's a lot of tension. I don't know why, even though they pretend to be lovey-dovey and all that, but I feel like there's some kind of tension, and every time she says something, you know, his face changes and you can just see how he looks down. And he always calls her out on things as well. And calling someone out, like, he could just not care. But I mean, the way he calls out, I don't know. I feel like there's a slight passive-aggressive tone, maybe. I might be wrong. I don't know. But I feel like there's a lot of tension between these two. Also, you know that question that she asked him in the kitchen, like, about the kids and how he's, I don't know, and you want that for your kids, wouldn't you? You know, that kind of question comes from like an ideal self. It's like a polished self. It's not true self. It's not real self. It's about ideal self. It's about the image that I put into the world. And everything for her, it's an image. I feel like back when she was in that group, she was more of her real. She would smile, she would make faces. She was very real.
I'm not a lady. And what the Spice Girls did is they bought me out of me. I'm scary, really.
And that just kind of became our thing, that we kind of celebrated our individuality.
But something changed, and I think the something that changed might have been after first of all, she's gone through a lot of humiliation in the media used to bash her, which is just crazy. I don't know how anyone could go through that. So she had to go through that, and then I think she just turned on a defense, and then additionally media humiliated her. I'm sorry, but David Beckham humiliated her by cheating on her. That's humiliation. That's public humiliation, because the whole world knows that your partner cheated on you and you stayed with him. That's humiliation 2.0. Would you become defensive then? Maybe. And he says that repeatedly. You've changed. You don't talk like that anymore. You've changed. She wears this ideal self. Like it almost like, if I'm ideal, if I'm perfect, then I will be accepted. If I'm not polished, I will not be accepted. Real me will not be accepted. And I looked into different fashion designers. I feel like most of these designers are very real. Again, I don't know fashion that much. I don't know. But I looked at different designers, how they look on camera and how they, you know, how they come across. A lot of them are very real. A lot of them, they don't have that ideal image constantly going on. And also what that thing implies is, and you want that for your kids, wouldn't you say? What that line that she said in the kitchen to him, it also implies that we've built something big, something noble, and let's continue to embody that ideal. She loves, well, I don't know whether she loves it or she wants it. Maybe she's just used to, I don't know, but it's a brand that they've built. Their couple is a brand. Beckhams, okay, it's a brand, and she likes the fact that it's a brand, and she lives kind of ideal. The hint of narcissistic regulation in her statement, because you want that for your kids, don't you? It could be projection. It's something that she wants for her kids. It could be she might be using her children as extension of herself. And I've heard the stories about Nicola, her child. She has a child who married Nicola something, like a model. And, I've read stories that Nicola, she had a argument with Victoria, and Nicola mentioned something like, I don't want my husband to be near narcissistic parents or something like that. Which I don't know who's right and wrong. I don't really care. I'm just trying to analyze Victoria here. And I'm not really using that kind of TMZ stuff, what they say. I don't really like to use it, but I just know for a fact that it did feel like she was using her son in a way as a continuation of herself. Like it's not like a separate entity in a way. Again, could be wrong. So I feel like they have tension. I feel like she might be... When he's his real self, David, she is more of like I already explained to you that she holds that ideal image. She's very, you always see her perfect. She has eating disorder. I mean, don't get me wrong, David also has like OCD and all that. He likes everything in order. They're very similar people. Similar people, but I feel like maybe David is a bit more in touch with reality, and he doesn't need to pretend to be someone else when she feels the need maybe to pretend to be someone else. In her documentary, it was very polished. Her look and image was very polished. And you know what was strange? There was one thing in her documentary that I was like, this is weird. Let me show you that.
What was it? That should have been taken off. I'm sorry. Apolline wasn't supposed to have that bag. Is it okay?
I mean, it's okay. I mean, look, I understand fashion is difficult. Fashion is very strict. Actually, I don't understand. I'm not in fashion. I have nothing to do with fashion. I've never been interested in fashion. So I don't know much about fashion, okay? But maybe that's just how it's supposed to be. Maybe that bag was not supposed to be there. I mean, it looked fine to me, but maybe it's not supposed to be there. But again, right? Maybe the whole ideal self comes from the fact that she went into the fashion business and she had to create this persona. Like if she entered the fashion business with a persona of the posh Spice Girl or whatever group that was, then maybe she would not be as accepted in the fashion world. That's possible too, because if you're like a haha hee hee kind of person, I'm not sure if you can make it in the fashion world. And I don't know, to me it just screams arrogance, to be honest. It's a bit too much. It's a bit too mumuch. You see David running after a ball. I mean, fair enough. It's actually, they do get pretty intense there too. And it's just running after, it's not really just running after a ball. There's millions and millions of dollars involved. And I guess there's millions and millions of dollars involved in her business too, obviously. And I guess, but you could see how everyone around her and how she herself was so tense. And I guess it's understandable. But one girl, she was like, and the other lady, she looked distraught, destroyed or distraught. I'm not sure. And I do feel like Victoria is the type of person, she would tell her off after the show, like, this is not happening again. You understand? It's not happening again, kind of thing. I could see that happen. So okay. Let me sum this up. It's been a long video. I feel like there's this whole imbalance been going on between them. First, she's popular. Then she's not popular. And he's popular. And cheated on her. And then now he's popular. But in US, he wasn't that popular. He was playing for some American football team. Or soccer, or whatever it's called. Like, it's not common for people to play football in America. And so he's kind of like, yeah. And now she is opening her brand, becoming successful and famous, and nah. And he's just there playing in American football. I mean, football in America. American football, I think, is something else. And then what happens? Her business was down and she needed help from him. So therefore, what happens again? The roles flip again. Now she's at the bottom and he's at the top, because now he should be helping her, well, should be or can be, I don't know, with her business, which is in minus millions. Okay, so now he's helping her. Now he's on top and she's there and he's helping her. And then once he helped her, he realized he can't keep putting money anymore. She finds a partner and she becomes successful again. And now he is somewhat, I feel like now maybe that they're somewhat, maybe she's a bit more successful now and he's kind of at the bottom, but I think David, I don't know how David can be at the bottom. David cannot be at the bottom. Can never be at the bottom, but I feel like their dynamic is just keeps going up and down, you know, first, you know, she's popular, he's not. Then he's popular, she's not. Then she's getting popular with her brand and he's just playing football in America, so he's not. Now, you know, he's doing good, but her business is not doing well. And now her business is doing well, but I think he's just now built a team or something. He's a co-founder of a team somewhere in Miami, and he's doing something, because obviously, how can you just stop? I cannot imagine for these people to just stop. I can't. It's unthinkable, because playing football, winning. It's adrenaline, it's rush, it's euphoria, it's all of these things. And then, you know, for her, she's been at the top and then she just went down and she's became someone's wife, okay? And she never wanted to be someone's wife. She wanted to be someone since childhood, someone. I mean, all of us do want to become someone, right? So there's no judgment there at all, no. But then, you know, she goes on to build her dream, her brand, which is very, like, I respect that. I think that's amazing. I think it's great what she's done, what she's built. Obviously not without help of, you know, of her husband and investors and everything. But I think she's doing great. It's a great brand. Her clothes look great. And I mean, I don't understand much in fashion, but I like what she creates. And so I feel like there's been kind of like that competition going on. You know, once she's at the top, he's at the bottom, and then she might be jealous that she's nowhere and he's doing well. And then, you know, I'm not sure how David felt when she was getting all popular and he was playing that football in America. I'm not sure how he felt. He was getting paid a lot. Why not? You know, he's probably doing really well, actually, but not in terms of his career. Like, he's not playing for Real Madrid, or he's not playing for, what was it, Manchester United, or whatever, something in UK, okay? He's not doing that. He's playing somewhere in US, which doesn't make any sense at all. And, you know, while she is going to create a brand. And so I feel like that, I don't know. It's so strange. The dynamic is strange, and there's lots of, like, I feel like there's competition going on. There's some kind of competition going on, and there's a very, very big desire, strong desire for her to save the brand, their marriage as a brand. And I don't know if they're genuinely happy together or not. I'm not sure. And also, like, you know, see, with trauma, with humiliation trauma is one of the most painful things that you can experience. And she's definitely gone through that a lot. I mean, David himself, he's gone through that too, like when the whole world was unhappy with him. And she's gone through the same thing as well, when the whole world was unhappy with her. But see, it's unfortunate how that happens, but then there's also like a backside of every trauma. When we get traumatized, then, you know, our psyche changes in a way. We start seeing the world with different glasses. Colored glasses, and then it changes our behavior, and sometimes not for the better. It's true, not always for the better. And so humiliation trauma is actually one of these factors that causes you to become very rigid, to become very perfectionistic, to make you put on the ideal eye that I'm perfect and no one like can humiliate me because I'm perfect, because I'm always in perfect form, perfect shape, perfect makeup, perfect hair, perfect clothes, genuinely, honestly, perfect clothes. Okay, and perfect kids, perfect family, everything's perfect. I don't know. It's a bit too perfect for me. And this is actually what I talk a lot about in my videos, is I talk about the split between the real I and the ideal I. And this is what my course is about as well. I have an online course, and I also have a book that's going to come out very soon. It's also about, finding confidence in yourself so much that you don't need to be that ideal. You don't need to strive for that ideal. You don't need to become the ideal. You don't need to run your whole life to be that ideal, because you'll never be satisfied. You need to, at some point, you need to accept your true self, your real self. And I'm not seeing that with her. I somehow see it with David. I don't see it with her. At the heart of humiliation trauma lies the terror of being insignificant. It's a very severe trauma. You cannot be insignificant ever again in your life. It creates narcissistic injury. It's an injury to our self-worth. So I think what happened to her is that she felt like, I will never allow anyone, like I will not allow to be ridiculed ever again, or I'll never be powerless. And for her to lose marriage with David, it would be a complete break in her ideal self. If he divorces her, her ideal self will fall apart. Just what happened with her son and the whole drama around her son. It's already giving cracks. So therefore, one of the coping strategies would be perfectionistic control. Micromanaging, overworking, and I think she does that in her business. Micromanaging, overworking, hyper-focusing on appearance and reputation, controlling others how they see you, because it prevents vulnerability. She's never vulnerable. You never see in any of those documentaries she's never vulnerable. And that end of her documentary where she was vulnerable, that was not vulnerability. That was something else. That was, I don't know, it was a show. For me, it was a show. And David called her out on that. It creates also hidden rage. So there's a lot of suppressed anger. And suppressed anger can come out as an eating disorder. So maybe... and that's what she's dealing with. But again, I'm not sure if it's connected, but I feel like it is. So long story short, honestly, I feel genuinely like I feel bad for her, because she did experience a lot of humiliation. And I feel like she was once such a sweet girl, wonderful. She danced and she could act and she smiled and she was so full of life and energy. And that whole thing, like the cheating and humiliation from the public, that I feel like completely broke her, and she just created a defense. That's it. It's very sad. It's a very sad story. I think it's a very sad story. And anyhow, all right, guys. Well, I think I'm done. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, follow my channel, and I will see you in other videos. Bye bye.